Okay, wow. This deep dive, you've really handed us a legal thriller here with this one. Examining presidential immunity and whether it applies to Donald Trump in the January 6th case.
Yeah, and the government certainly didn't hold back with this motion. They lay out their argument in meticulous detail, explaining why they believe Trump shouldn't be shielded from prosecution.
There's a lot to unpack for sure, but it seems like the core question here, so let's get into it. The government seems to be drawing a distinction between two versions of Donald Trump, the president carrying out his constitutional duties, and then there's candidate Trump acting in his own self-interest.
That's exactly right. They're arguing that Trump stepped outside the bounds of his role as president, and by doing so, he opened himself up to legal vulnerability.
And they use some pretty interesting evidence to back that up. Like, get this, they actually analyzed Trump's Twitter account. They went through his tweets to figure out which ones were candidate Trump and which ones were President Trump. The government's argument about Trump's conversations with Pence is where things get really interesting.
Exactly. They're essentially saying that by pressuring Pence to overturn the election results, Trump wasn't acting as president. He was acting as a candidate desperate to hold on to power.
So they're building a case that these weren't the actions of a president looking out for the nation, but those of a candidate focused solely on his own political survival.
Precisely. And the government is presenting a compelling narrative that when it came to January 6th, Donald Trump was not acting as the president of the United States, but as a private citizen, a candidate, and therefore subject to the same laws as anyone else.
And then obviously that impassioned speech he delivered at the Ellipse rally right before January 6th.
Both given just days before Congress was set to certify the election results, and both filled with claims of a rigged election.
So it's all about establishing his state of mind, his intent.
Yes, exactly. They're building a narrative that Trump knew he lost the election, but was determined to hold on to power no matter what. He was using his platform to incite an insurrection to block the peaceful transfer of power. And they make sure to highlight that all of this was happening on his personal @Real Donald Trump account, the same one.
We all heard about those phone calls, the attempts to get state officials to find him enough votes.
And the government's argument is that these calls were not the actions of a president working in the national interest, but the desperate moves of a candidate trying to hold on to power.
So it's like they're saying that no one, not even the president, is above the law, especially when their actions could threaten the very heart of our democracy.
Right, and that gets to the core of why this case is so important.
It seems like this case is about so much more than what happened leading up to January 6th. It's about the very foundation of our democracy, the balance of power, the limits of what a president can do. Well said. The stakes are incredibly high here, and the outcome of this case will have an impact for generations to come. It's a good reminder that our democracy is a fragile thing, and it needs us to be watchful and committed to the rule of law to survive. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and engaging. Until next time, keep asking those tough questions, and remember, knowledge is power.